Welcome to Stepping Stone to Excellence, the podcast where we explore life's events and experiences through a Christian worldview. Hi, my name is Skamo, and I am honored to welcome you to this podcast where we'll be discussing various topics that are part of our journey to stepping into excellence. Today's topic is going to be about the cost of identity. It's something that has been resonating in my spirit for a while. And what is the true cost of identity? Because many of us don't want to discuss identity, the identity that's shaped by suffering, by humility, and by faith. We would rather discuss the veneer identity that is reflected by success, by the glitter and the glam, by possessions, by standing because of the people we associate with. We would prefer to have that superficial identity, not to discuss the questions of personal trauma, humility, and faith. Yet, these three things, suffering, humility, and faith, ground us and have such an impact that cannot be glittered over and certainly cannot be covered by drink or association. It is important that we start to embrace the understanding of our self-worth versus our net worth. What silence? What needs to be broken? The idea that society celebrates strength but hides weaknesses. I was reflecting on this and challenged on this during my prayer time and in my sharing, that how many posts that I post speak about my personal weaknesses. I mean, we like to share about whether it's my friend's graduation or my son's graduation or my brother's graduation. We like to share the good stuff. We want to tell the world all the good stuff that's happening. But how many times do we share about our weaknesses? That, well, I wasn't that good of a person today. I insulted the person at the till. And then I had to go back and apologize because it wasn't their fault. It wasn't because of anything they did. I had not dealt with my frustration, or I was impatient and I ended up prolonging my day, because by the time I was able to get what I wanted because of my running from one office to the other, I actually spent up and used more energy and used more stress and used more time than if I had just sat and waited. It is real. We are broken. We fail. We go through crisis, and often those places are where our excellence is really born and brought forth into glory. I was reflecting on the thought that I had some instances, some really tight instances, and one of them was a hijacking one that I experienced. I'd finished work pretty late, but I didn't want to wait for the company transport because it was really going to take an hour or so for me to just sit and wait. So I was like, you know what, it's in the middle of the night, but there must be transport, but I don't want to walk all the way to the bus station. Let me go and hike. Good idea, very good idea. So I went and hiked because I've done this before, and then I got into a car and nobody else got into the car besides me, and there were two men in the car, and my instinct was like, oh, what have I done? And then I was like, what is a nice looking car? They couldn't be doing anything. So fine, I'm in the car, we're driving out. Just before we get out of town, lo and behold, I get a knife, a gun pointed at me. It was a gun first, and I have no idea. There's this thing called adrenaline, believe you me, it does wonders. I opened a door of this Mercedes-Benz. It must have been auto-locked, or maybe they forgot. I opened the door and I take the gun from this guy, throw it out, and I don't move. I have no idea why I didn't move. And then the guy, and I'm starting to pull back my bag, and then he pulls out a knife, and then I decide that, okay, you know what? Letting go of my bag and my phone and all the stuff that's in it is okay. And I jump out of a moving vehicle. Yeah, your girl Gamo can do some stuff sometimes. And I didn't break my bones. The car continues on, but it was pretty close to the state house where this happened. So I decide that where there's high security, I'm going to go there, and there's no way they're going to follow me. If they are, they're going to get shoot off. And I'm walking, and I'm in the middle of town. I don't have my bag. I don't have money. And I remember that there was a friend of my mom's who had a flat in town, and I go to her place and I phone. I ask her, I tell her, she's in shock. I'm still in adrenaline high. I ask her for a phone so that I can phone my uncle, who comes and picks me up. And then I point at him and say, no, there, I know where I jumped out, and I find my other pair of shoes, because I actually ended up walking back into town with one pair of shoes, and I find my other pair of shoes. And then we get home. By God's grace, my mom, who was a prayer warrior, had been prompted to pray, to take a time of prayer. And at that time, I tell her, my uncle tells her what I told him, and the proof of the fact that we ended up picking up my shoe in the middle of nowhere. And here I am in this journey of weakness where I've lost what I thought was valuable. I was frustrated in the midst of crisis, and I felt overwhelmed with the weakness of being robbed because I felt dispossessed. What happened really at that moment was the realization, having arrived home, that this was a gift, that my life was a gift, that this was grace. It was the power that I thought I had, the power of choice, the power of decision, the power of ownership. All of this didn't exist but by grace. My liberties were by God's grace. And it's sad to actually say that I was then informed later on that something similar happened to someone else. This particular lady also got supposedly a lift. She was raped. She later died from the wounds that she experienced. And she was robbed. It could have happened to me. It wasn't because I was more clever than her. I was stronger. I was more strategic. I just was able to be more athletic. None of these things made a difference. It was but grace. And when we celebrate the good things that God has allowed us to attain, whether it's our degrees, whether it's a job, whether it's a contract, all of these things, yes, we should celebrate them. Yes, we should share them. But we should always remember to do so with humility. We should always do so with a sense of generous honor to those around us. and we should always do so lovingly, not in claiming those things as our identity, but recognizing the grace of the gift of life, the grace and the generosity of God each and every day, because suffering is part of reality, loss is part of reality, and the path to excellence can be filled with moments of loss, moments of dispossession, moments of pain, moments of being forced into brokenness and humility. And while we are chasing wealth, we may miss out on just enjoying today, celebrating the goodness of today, celebrating the gift of life, the ability to hug your parent, the ability to love your siblings, the ability to celebrate breathing, because for you to be able to breathe, it's a gift. For you to be able to have a friend is a gift. All of these things is not because we deserve them more than anyone else. We are owed by the universe more than anyone else, or God must do them for us because, hey, we have been good. No, not at all. Life is full of brokenness, and we should not allow the world to silence us in our brokenness. I'm not saying that we need to be crying to the world and telling the world how painful our lives are. Nor am I saying that we should share our trauma details to every single person, because there's a time and a place for that. But we need to not be shamed about our brokenness, but celebrate the victories that come from those broken moments, from the failure that we experience, from the business crisis that we experience, that we are able to learn because we failed in business. We were able to persevere because we were rejected by this client or the other. We learned to be bolder because we were scared in an instance. One of the instances that I would like to share was how I learned that I need to trust my team was in my desire to get an opportunity. I was actually given the opportunity, so it wasn't like any effort of mine. I was given an opportunity to work with one of these big multinational companies locally, and this was just such an overwhelming and exciting thing that I wanted to do a par excellent job. And then I started questioning that, are we going to be able to have the name recognition, not the capacity to perform? No, the capacity to perform, we had it. We had a team that had great capacity to perform, great knowledge, great experience. We had an amazing team. What we didn't have is name recognition. So I decided on impulse, what about name recognition, so that they really feel that, hey, we have arrived, we have come, and these guys, well, we have a name amongst them that is very well known. So I started hunting for an extra name, a recognized name, only to find that at the instance of having found the name and telling that particular person what I wanted from them and who I was going to address, they felt offended because this organization usually comes to them, and they didn't understand why the organization hadn't approached them. And I lost a deal. I lost a deal because I was so focused on appearances rather than on the value that I already had. I had a wonderful international product. I I had an amazing international and local team. I had everything that was of approval for this company, but I wanted to add icing and glitter so that it overwhelms them. And I lost a contract because of that. And that taught me to accept the humility that I am not well known, to accept the humility that I am not a household name. It's okay. It's okay. It is absolutely okay. I have been a very good background person, supporting others in their vision. That was my journey. That is how I learned and got polished. And it's okay that now, as I go up front and push my name and push the vision of the company that I have, that not everybody knows me. It is absolutely okay. And I don't need the glitter and the glam. I don't need the influencer charm. Yes, it would be nice, but who's the greatest influencer of all, especially as a believer? Hey, Gamo, as a believer, Gamo, I spoke to myself. God is your greatest influencer. God is your greatest source of influence and network and opportunity and open door. And seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Lean not upon your own understanding. Apply the words. And it is the humility of eating crow, as they say, of having mud on my face, because I put this mud on my face all by myself, because I sought glitter and glam. So let's enjoy our brokenness. Let's embrace the paradox of power. We have the desire for honor and wealth and influence, but sometimes it can become a slave rather than a source of liberation. Excellence requires us to walk in humility and service. That is true excellence. True greatness is found in humility and service as well. Success is something we attain as we humble ourselves and we accept that we don't know it all. We serve and we apply and we research and we do all things with a spirit of excellence, not perfectionism, but excellence, being honorable, valuing dignity, love, and doing and fulfilling our purpose that God will have revealed to us, not in our own strength, not in our own understanding, not trying to conceptualize the world into our lives, but allowing the gospel story of generosity, of God's love and service and humility to be our foundation blocks. And I really believe that when we celebrate our brokenness, our moments of crisis, our moments of poverty, where we don't have what we want and what we believe we need, when we are just surviving rather than what the world's view of flourishing, blinging success is, we are still part of the journey of what God wants us to be. And he will bring about that which he and he alone can do through us and in us. And I do pray that God will bring you to the fulfillment of your purpose. God will lead you into the flourishing grace of success, that you will always remember that you are beloved by the Most High and that you are precious and that what you do matters because you matter to God and he doesn't make mistakes. You are not a mistake. I am not a mistake. We all have a purpose in God, and God bless you as you fulfill yours in excellence.